and now we get to ride dirt bikes here. I get to share with Refocus, Reset, and set off on our ways to take on more adventures.
Now, you start over Tower Bridge in London, you've jumped over, it's the Arc de Triomphe in Las Vegas. I mean, just so many incredible jumps. I remember seeing the video of you doing the ski jump as well. You're a record breaker and a dream chaser. Do you think...
You know, one of the coolest things for me is inventing the motorcycle to ride on the water. Just because I grew up at the beach in Australia, I grew up surfing. If I hadn't been a motorcycle rider, I would have been a surfer. And to be able to combine the two of my two favourite things to do is a dream come true. So it just, you know, one day it just kind of hit me that I could make it right on the water with the addition of like some wakeboards under the wheels. And I've seen a lot of people copy it, and it's something that works. And you know, to be able to take it on a Maui and catch waves and feel some of the excitement I felt. So I'm really stoked with Motorfest and the crew. It's awesome that it's gone this way.
So Robbie, if you could be a car, a plane, a boat or a motorbike, which would you be and why?
I would definitely be a plane. I just love flying. It's all I've wanted to do, and I think that's why motorbikes became so cool to me, because it was catching these little moments of being able to fly. And as I've got older, I've jumped further and further and further. And now that I'm a pilot and I'm able to fly, it's just the coolest thing ever. And yeah, if I had the choice, I'd be a plane, because you can go wherever you want to go.
New crazy stunts. Like, how does one thing become from dream to reality?
I think ultimately figuring out the path of how to get there. You know, for the most part, when I designed the bike to go on the water, the dream was to always ride it on the water. And, you know, I had the dream for a long time, just keep doing distance jumps. And I knew I wanted to do something that was a cool spectacle. And it wasn't about just having a jump and putting things in between it, you know, like Fonzie did with the shark tanks and like Evil did with the buses. That was cool, but it had already been done. I wanted to do something different, and that's really all I did. I just set my intention. I kind of put out of the universe that I wanted to find something different, and I just stopped thinking about it. I stopped worrying about it. I just had the thought that if it's meant to be, it'll come to me, and if it's not, then it's not meant for me. And once I just kind of let go in that way and stopped putting pressure on myself to come up with something, and just went about being engaged in the moment, letting go of the stress of trying to figure it out and just going about living my life and enjoying what I love. And then all of a sudden these new ideas come, and yeah, I mean, that's led me to my current thing that I'm working on. I have a new idea, and it's just come from me doing what I love. And I've been flying airplanes, I've been wingsuiting, I've been skydiving, and yeah, it's inspired me to go in a different direction again. So it's exciting.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, your next frontier, we're talking aerospace. You want to see your bike take to the skies. Walk me through what that looks like.
Well, it's a little early yet. I mean, that is the goal. I mean, I've been in the skies with my bike since I've been a little kid, and just to try and go further and farther is just the goal. And ultimately, the last time I did a world record jump, I landed so hard that my front wheel exploded, and I've ruptured my back, you know, from jumping so far. I ruptured 2 discs in my back. So I know that it needs to be aerodynamic, you know, and I've learned that a long time ago. Just finding the right team and finding, you know, like you said before, it's like a Tetris, right? So it's not just about me and the team, but it's about all the other elements. So I'm working on that. I'm not exactly sure what it looks like, but I am very hard at work, and I'm hoping to be able to unearth it here shortly. So there'll be more on that to come when things get a little bit more planned. But for now, it's just, you know, in the planes, flying. I just got the new wingsuit, the Freak. So it's the biggest wingsuit that they have, and I haven't flown it yet, so I'm excited to get out in that thing. And you know, you're literally like a bird. You know, it's from when you skydive, you know, you can kind of, it's different shapes kind of control how you fall in the sky. And in a wingsuit, you know, obviously you're in the suit, so if one arm is extended out further on a different angle than the other arm, you'll start to turn a certain way. So you really have to be flying this shape of like an aircraft, like a bird. And it's so insane, because when I was a kid and I ever had like spare change and I'd throw it into the pond or into a fountain, I'd always make a wish. You know, you make a wish in the wishing well. So I'd always wish that I could fly, and it's come true. You know, it's really has. I honestly feel like when I jump out of a hot air balloon in a wingsuit, I'm like literally flying, and it's the coolest thing. You have to face your fears to live your dreams, and one of the biggest fears I had was heights, and you know, just the integrity of the parachute, and I didn't mind free falling, but when I pulled the parachute and I had these strings coming off me holding this canopy up, I just didn't have faith in that. But after I did my accelerated free fall course and I learned how to pack a parachute, I kind of understood the technology of it and I got faith in it. And so now I kind of got over a fear. And to me, that's one of the most liberating things in my life is like, people say they have fears. I think one of the coolest things is to face your fears and get past them, understand them and address them and work through it, because if you just say, I have a fear and I'll never go there, then you're just limiting yourself. So if you're humble and bold enough and courageous enough to, address it and be honest with yourself and go through the uncomfortable.
How you actually achieve it in a physical way.
Yeah, I think for everything I've done, like a lot of people say, who designs these things for you? Who does it? And it's like, it's me, So I think you have to have that, and it's not like all me, but it's like me as far as like I'm driving the bus, and I have someone else navigating for me, and the person navigating is usually smarter and more experienced and knows it. But it's my call on where we go and which turns we make and what it looks like and what the ultimate the decision, the final decisions is usually in my hands.
Of all of the stunts that you've done, I mean, we've got the backflip over Tower Bridge in Las Vegas. I've done an amazing job here.
I think the jump on and off the Arc de Triomphe in Las Vegas was so like rattling for me as a human, and what it ultimately came to was that this is what I dreamed about doing my entire life, and if I didn't have the courage to follow through with this, then I'm just never going to know what my life could have been, And so I'd always dreamt of this opportunity to be on a spectacle like Evel Knievel. That's what I really dreamt of as a kid. I wanted to have an opportunity to do world-stopping stunt where the world's watching and be able to push through it. And now I had that opportunity. I had to decide whether I was going to let fear stop me, because a lot of the people involved with the production were like, this is so crazy, we can't believe you're doing it. And they would like reassure me, there's no one here from our department that's putting pressure on you. If you don't want to do this, we totally get it. You don't have to do this. And I was like, no, I actually have to do this to answer my own question. And so that's what I realized through all my digging, was that this is more of like a question of myself. And now it's time for me to figure out if it's meant to be or not. And I had total faith and total belief that if it's meant to be, it'll be. And if it wasn't, well, then that was just how my life was meant to go. And I had total peace with that, So I was really calm before I did the jump, knowing that, I think the practical side of my head I had to turn off. So the fear side of things, I had to like just stop listening to it, because it was like driving me insane. And I was like sick before, like I literally vomited, thinking about that kind of stuff. So eventually I got to the point where my own psychosis was like making me physically sick. So I had to just turn that off. So that made me that's where the meditating came in, because I had to like turn my mind off. And it's so freeing to like just not have this internal voice anymore, because I had it going on my whole life, and now I don't have it anymore. But it took me a long time to quiet my mind. It's like literally something you have to work at very hard. And then obviously when I landed and it pulled off, I was like, well, it was meant to be. I think that was a prerequisite for my mentality, because then when I got on the motorcycle in the water and I'm out at Chopu and the waves are 20-foot faces and I'm like on the dirt bike in the water, I'm thinking, oh man, this is a stupid idea. And when that wave crashed down in front of me, that was this heaviest moment of my life, and it was 10 times, and even when I jumped the Corinth Canal, the fear of facing to jump the canal was worse than in Vegas. So Vegas was really, and then the jumps before, but everything's been a prerequisite to get me to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. And whatever you do, whatever skill you want to harness, is when you sharpen a knife, you see it get sharp.
What if you don't downshift at that point? And I'm like, shut up, it's fine, everything's going to be totally fine. You're famous for pushing boundaries and setting new records. So how are you refining your bikes to help you achieve these?
That's a tough question. I'm working towards my own goals. I think if I was invincible and I could be young forever, I'd probably still be trying to jump further distance records with the bike the way it is. But for me, there's one goal left for me, and that's all I'm working on. So I'm not here to replicate nothing, to do shows around the world. I think those days for me are gone. I just want to do my masterpiece, right? That's all I'm working on, is my masterpiece, and then I'm done. So I'm not really in it for the long haul, but I think manufacturers are doing a great job.